Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game preview, Liverpool versus Everton, the Merseyside derby tomorrow afternoon at Anfield, 12:30 kickoff. I must admit, it is the kickoff time that I most prefer for Merseyside derbies, except the ones that are played in the capital of the country. I remember playing Liverpool at 12:30 in an FA Cup semi-final at Wembley, and that was an absolute disaster of a day, not only because of the result, but because whose idea was it to have fans travelling 6 hours up the country to make a 12:30 kickoff? Anyway, I digress. In terms of fixtures that are played within the city, which of course the majority of the Merseyside derby fixtures are, the 12:30 kickoff is the one that I best prefer. I don't usually prefer the 12:30 when we're playing anybody else, but I absolutely despise Merseyside derbies, and the quicker this game is over, the quicker this fixture is done with and we can forget about it for another couple of months, the better, in my opinion. I know some people really enjoy Merseyside derbies, some Blues really look forward to them, they really revel in that sort of rivalry and fight and tribalism of a Merseyside derby, and they love it when it comes around. Some people don't have an opinion either way, see it as just another football game. For me, I absolutely hate them because I hate losing and I hate when Everton lose, and unfortunately for us, the majority of the 25 years that I've been on this planet, Everton have not been very successful at Anfield, winning once since 1999, of course, that game in COVID times under Carlo Ancelotti. And yeah, as I said, a lot of the results and performances over the years have been nothing short of disgraceful, and it all adds up to the overall sort of, I wouldn't say anxiety or worry going into this game. I just really don't like them. I'm not particularly worried about tomorrow. I've watched, numerous Merseyside derbies over the years. I'm not particularly anxious about it either because it's a game of football, but I'd be lying if I was to say I wasn't sitting here thinking about it constantly and almost sort of dreading that that 12:30 kickoff tomorrow afternoon. However, having said that, and this might seem a little bit contradictory of me to say, I actually don't think Everton have much to fear going into this one tomorrow. I really don't, and I'll tell you why. For years and years and years, we turned up at Anfield for this fixture, and we played as if we were absolutely terrified. A lot of times, we'd lost the game before the ball had even been kicked. A lot of times, you could tell and you knew that we had no chance going into this game days before the game was taking place. And I'm not really sure why that is the case, because there is absolutely no pressure on this Everton team tomorrow. There's no pressure on Sean Dyche. Yes, there is the pressure from us Evertonians of it being a Merseyside derby, and therefore Everton need to go out and need to perform, but the pressure isn't based around the players turning up and winning at Anfield, because I don't think any of us are silly enough to believe that this Everton team, should be guaranteed to turn up at Anfield and win. I'm not saying we can't win, but I don't think any of us are under the illusion that this Liverpool team have got a lot of talent in there, obviously a very good manager, and a team that ultimately will be challenging at the top of the league table this season. So nobody expects us to turn up and beat them comfortably 3 or 4-0, and if we don't do that, everybody's going to be fuming. The expectation comes from us expecting these players to turn up tomorrow and fight and battle and get stuck in and not shy away, and the manager to not shy away from having a go and not shy away from, informing his players to get involved in challenges, get in the faces of players, don't back off, don't be scared, don't, shit out of a 50-50. That is where the expectation comes from. And I've said this a couple of times over the years on the channel doing Merseyside derby previews. Every time Everton have put a performance in where we've fought and we've battled and we've given a good go and we've given a good account of ourselves in a Merseyside derby, very rarely have I or any of the other Everton-based content creators had much negative to say. Even if we've lost that game, 2-0 or 3-1 or whatever it might be, we often can sit here and say, do you know what, they're just a better team than us, they've got better players, they've got a better manager, they're in a better situation, fair enough, but at least we had a go, at least we turned up. It's those times when we turn up and we effectively roll over and we allow them to comfortably beat us without any sort of issues whatsoever for them. I've watched numerous Merseyside derbies over the years at Anfield and at Goodison, but specifically at Anfield, where we've turned up and, as I've just said, we've almost been beaten before the ball has even been kicked. And we've, not really wanted to be involved. We've hid in the game. We've not got involved in the physical challenge of it. We've not really put a foot in. We've basically shit ourselves, for lack of a better phrase. And that is what isn't acceptable. Losing a Merseyside derby, listen, football is football. You don't win every game. Some games you lose, and more often than not, if you come up against a team that are better than you and have better players than you and have a better system than you and a better recruitment system, and the football club is ran better than yours is, then often you are going to lose those games. And unfortunately for us, Liverpool Football Club have been in that position for large parts of my lifetime. But what is not acceptable and what cannot be sort of accepted and what we can't stand for is players turning up and hiding, players turning up and not really wanting to be involved in the battle, not really wanting to put themselves about, not really wanting to, give 110% for the shirt. This is, don't get me wrong, these players should be given 110% every single time they put that Everton shirt on, be it home and away, whether we're playing Liverpool or whether we're playing Bournemouth. However, if there are 2 games a year that you are going to give absolutely everything in, and you are going to make sure that you leave absolutely everything out on that pitch, it's both Merseyside derbies. And that's why I don't think we have much to fear going into this one tomorrow. I think all of the expectation is on Liverpool. Liverpool as a team and Jurgen Klopp as a manager will see themselves as a side that can challenge for the title this season. I know this mightn't go down well with many Evertonians, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think whoever finishes above Manchester City this season will win the Premier League title, and I think Liverpool will be the closest competitor. I know some people will say Arsenal, some people will say, but what about Tottenham, X, Y, and Z? The reality of the situation is Arsenal proved last season that when push comes to shove and when it comes to the nitty-gritty and the real sort of difficult end of the season, they weren't able to put a run of results together in order to be able to compete with Manchester City. And Gary Neville got a lot of stick when he said, at Christmas time, Manchester City will win this league by 10 points or something like that. And he was right, because Arsenal didn't have the mentality, they didn't have the leadership, they didn't have the experience to be able to go and compete at the end of the season with Manchester City. I don't think Tottenham have got that either. In fact, the only team in this country I think have got that is Liverpool. So all of the pressure tomorrow is on Liverpool. They are expected to turn up and beat an Everton team that, largely for the last 2 years have been really poor. I know this season, you could say, the performances have been much better than what the results suggest. And I know some people will say, well, we've won 3 of the last 4, and we have. And the last time we played a game of football, we ultimately were very comfortable. We won it comfortably. And I thought we were brilliant in it. So there needs to be a level of confidence from this team and from Sean Dyche going into tomorrow. And I do think the message needs to be, you don't need to play with fear. You don't need to play with anxiety. You don't need to play with worry. All of the pressure is on them. Everybody expects them to turn up and win this game. Everybody expects them to turn up. If Liverpool turn up tomorrow and win 2-0, nobody's shocked. Nobody is sat there going, oh my God, what a surprise that was. If Everton turn up tomorrow and win 2-0, everybody is shocked. And I know we've been in situations like that before. And I understand that, people will say, well, yeah, Campbell, we've had loads of times over the years where we've been the underdog and nobody's expected anything from us and we've still turned up and shit ourselves. I get that. I absolutely get that. But I do think this one's a little bit different, because I do think there have been times already this season where we've seen this Everton team under this manager turn up in games that we've not expected to win and win. The Brentford game away from home, we were in a really bad run. We'd not won a game. Brentford, were a good side, a team that I think only lost twice at home last season or something like that. And we turned up completely out the blue and we beat them because there was no pressure on us. There was absolutely no pressure. all of the expectation was on them. We did it again a few days later against Aston Villa. It's when the pressure is on this Everton team that I think it struggles. Luton at home, the pressure is all on us. We are expected to win. We don't win. Fulham at home, when we have all of those chances. As I've said before, I've said this numerous times on this channel, the more and more opportunities we have that we miss, the pressure rises incredibly. For every chance you miss, there's an extra 5-10% of pressure on the next chance for you to score. So when we've missed 3 or 4 in the first half against Fulham and against Wolves, the pressure was massive going into that second half. However, like I've just said, there shouldn't be much pressure tomorrow other than to turn up and fight and battle. Also, I think one big advantage going into this one is I've never, ever, ever said this about a Merseyside derby, and I didn't think I'd ever say it about a Merseyside derby, whether it be on the channel or whether it be, to me friends or to me dad or to me family. I am actually... happier is maybe not the right phrase, but I'm more content at the fact that this game is at Anfield tomorrow than I would have been had it been at Goodison Park. And I've never said that. I've never, ever, ever looked at a Merseyside derby and said, I'm glad that this one is away from home as opposed to being at home. And the reality of the situation is, because, as I've just said, there's more pressure when you're at home, there's more expectation when you're at home, but also our home form this season has been absolutely horrific. Absolutely horrific. And I know we had a fantastic win last time out against Bournemouth, and I know people will say, oh well, you can only look at the last results, etc, etc, and that's fine, and I get that and I appreciate that, but let's be honest, for the most part our home form this season has been absolutely horrendous, whereas our away form has been much better, and generally our away form under Sean Dyche has been better than our home form, and that's something I will give Sean Dyche credit for. Generally, I still don't think it's very good. I'm still not saying we've got good away form or we're much better away from home than we are at home. It's not like Carlo's season in COVID when we won away every week and we lost at home every week. But it is better than what it has been. Going to Chelsea at the back end of last season, getting a result, a 2-2 draw there at Stamford Bridge. Obviously, the win at Brighton. We've had the win at Brentford this season. The win at Villa as well. Again, we lost to Villa in the league, but we managed to turn up and beat a strong Villa side. Obviously, Sheffield United, we didn't win, but it was probably our best performance to date at that point. So, away from home, this team and these players under this manager just seem a little bit more comfortable. They just seem a little bit calmer. They just seem a little bit more content. And that gives me a little bit of confidence going into tomorrow. I'm not going to say I've got a lot of confidence going into tomorrow, because I haven't, because it's a Merseyside derby at Anfield, and I could very well be sitting here in 24 hours time screaming and shouting and the rest of it. But I do think one thing Sean Dyche has managed to do with this Everton team recently is take that pressure off of away games and almost say, lads, the expectation isn't on you here, so go out and prove people wrong. Go out, battle, put a fight in. The system is obviously much different away from home. I think Sean Dyche suits a more defensive approach to a game in away games more than having to have that responsibility to attack in home games, as we've seen against Luton and Fulham and Wolves, where there's away from home when there's not really been that that expectation to control the ball and to attack. We seem to play much better in that situation. Obviously, the big elephant in the room here is this is a different kettle of fish to anything we've played this season. This is by far our hardest game of the season, not just because it's a Merseyside derby, but because this is the best team we've played. Arsenal, okay, you could say at Goodison maybe, but certainly away from home, this is the toughest game we've faced this season by a long stretch. Liverpool currently sitting fourth in the Premier League table, 5 wins, 2 draws, and that 1 loss, of course, to Spurs. Their last result was a 2-2 draw to Brighton, a game that, again, I think they struggled in. I think they give the gifted opportunities to Brighton. I think they made mistakes that they've made in previous games, by the way, that I think if Everton can pounce on and if Everton can take advantage of, then maybe that'll put them on the back foot a little bit. Obviously, they had that defeat to Tottenham. We've spoke about it on the channel. It was yeah, we can take the piss and say, ha ha ha, they deserve it, but it was a shocking decision. And they'd had a decent run of form before that with a win in Europe in between. But the reality of the situation is, as I said, this is a Liverpool team that, for me, the way I see it, and this could absolutely come back to bite me on the arse by this time tomorrow, but I'm not really bothered because this is how I see it. I think Liverpool defensively leave a lot to be desired. I think they make a lot of individual mistakes. I think they've got players there that are coming towards the end of their top-level careers, like Virgil van Dijk, who I think I've watched them a number of times in recent weeks, and a lot of forwards have been able to get the better of him. However, going forward, I do think that they are one of the best teams in world football, and that kills me to say it because I absolutely despise them. I hate everything about them and everything they stand for. However, you have to say it as you see it, and going forward, I think they are the only team that can compete with Manchester City in terms of attacking quality, and that's why I think they'll be the closest to Manchester City this season. I really do. I know we can talk about Arsenal and Tottenham and all these other teams, but when you look at Liverpool's forward line, I think you would take Liverpool's forward line over any team in the Premier League, barring Manchester City, as I've said. And that is where the problem comes in for Sean Dyche tomorrow. What Sean Dyche has got to do is ultimately be able to set his team up to counter and to be able to take advantage of defensive mistakes that Liverpool will make. They're also without, obviously, Andy Robertson, who looks like he's going to be out for quite some time, so they'll have Tsimikas in there, who's not had an awful lot of game time and obviously isn't anywhere near as good as what Andy Robertson is. They've had a lot of players out on international duty as well, so fatigue could come into it, whereas Everton haven't had a lot. We've only had a couple of players out. Onana came back early. Pickford obviously wasn't travelling anywhere, particularly mad. They've had players like Darwin Núñez, who's been in South America, various other players that have been all around the world that I'm sure will probably feel a little bit fatigued going into this one. But that is the task for Sean Dyche tomorrow. First and foremost, as I've just said, it's to and this is harder. This is easier said than done, of course it is, because I'm sure this was something that every single Everton manager has said, in the Anfield dressing room going into the game. Don't play with fear. Don't be scared of these. The pressure is on them. They're not necessarily for this game in terms of their pressure, but their expectation is now to win every game in order to be able to keep up with Manchester City and to keep up at the top of the league table. Our expectation tomorrow is to go there and maybe scrape a draw. So anything more than that becomes a surprise, and therefore there's no pressure on us. But also for Dyche, it's to ensure that two things. A, defensively, we are perfect, because this is a Liverpool team that you cannot afford to be anything other than against. If you make defensive mistakes, if you are culpable defensively, if you are caught sleeping or your concentration levels drop, you will be punished. And we've seen it over the years. We've lost games 4-1, 4-0 to Liverpool, and they've not even been that dominant of a performance. But because we've slipped concentration 2 or 3 times, they've punished us every single time. And also to be able to take advantage when an opportunity arises. I've also seen Everton teams over the last couple of years who've had chances against Liverpool and we've not taken them, and we've walked out the ground thinking, how have we not won that game? So it will be difficult. Again, you don't need me to talk you through players that Liverpool have got at their disposal. We know Mohamed Salah, one of the best in the world. Szoboszlai, who's come in this season, who I think has settled in really well for them. Núñez, obviously, we know. Alexis McAllister, Luis Diaz, who obviously very close to joining Everton, and a fantastic player. Cody Gakpo in there, who I think is a decent player as well. Gravenberch, Alisson, they've got a lot of Jota, who is a really, really dangerous player. They've got a lot of really top quality talent there, but they're not an invincible team, and they're definitely not the Liverpool team that was 3 or 4 years ago when you almost writ this fixture off. There was a time a couple of years ago where James says you're going mouldy. It's just the green screen, mate. There was a time a couple of years ago where you almost writ the Merseyside derby off because Liverpool were on a par with Manchester City as that side that you just were never getting anything from that game, so you didn't even really bother expecting anything. That isn't the same this isn't the same Liverpool team. That's not the same situation at all whatsoever. They're still a very, very good side, don't get me wrong, and they're still very, very, very dangerous going forward. But I do think defensively you can get at them. I think Brighton showed that. Brighton's first goal is an absolute defensive disgrace. And if it was anyone other than Liverpool, it would have been plastered all over the news for days after about how poor it was. So you can get at them. You can cause them issues. It's about having the confidence to be able to do that. It's about Dominic Calvert-Lewin having the confidence in front of goal if an opportunity arises itself. It's about Abdoulaye Doucouré having the confidence in front of goal. You know, it's about Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil being able to do that. I have got a feeling, and I don't usually talk about feelings that I have before games because A, they don't often don't often come to fruition and I end up looking like a tit. But B, because I just never want to really jinx things. But I've got a feeling, and the stats for all of those stato lovers would agree with me that I think we'll score first tomorrow. I do. Liverpool have got a bit of a tendency at the moment of conceding first, but then going on and completely dominating for the rest of the game and winning, so hopefully that doesn't happen. And Everton have got a tendency, certainly away from home, of scoring first and going 1-0 up. Sheffield United, Brentford, Villa. Usually it's early on as well. It's early on. That then is a situation I think Sean Dyche has got to plan for, because as I said, Everton have got a tendency of going 1-0 up in away games this season, and Liverpool have got a tendency of going 1-0 down in games. Okay, maybe not as often at Anfield, but certainly generally in a lot of games this season. I speak to a lot of Liverpool fans. My father-in-law's a Liverpool fan, and he speaks quite openly about how susceptible Liverpool are to the back early on in games. So if that does happen and we do go 1-0 up, then we need to absolutely ensure that we don't do anything silly, and that we don't allow them back into the game. And that's easier said than done, because this is a fantastic side with a lot, as I said, a lot of fantastic players going forward. But what I don't want to be doing tomorrow is sitting here doing the instant match reaction saying we were 1-0 up and in the last 10 minutes we conceded 2 goals and they were both defensive mistakes, or they were both avoidable goals. That's not what we want to be talking about, is it? I mean, Johnny says, I'd literally say we have everything to fear. The Blues says, same, Johnny, the most fearful fixture in world football. I think as fans, I agree, because it's the Merseyside derby and you've got to go into work on Monday and you've got to see, you know, your Liverpool fan work colleagues who are going to take the piss out of you, or you've got to go and, you know, go out with your mates for the bevy who are going to take the piss out of you. I get it. You know, I've never, as I said before, I've never looked forward to a Merseyside derby. It's never been a fixture that has made me excited. It's never been a fixture that has given me any form of, looking forward to. However, I don't think the players can be fearful. And I've said this before in different situations. I've said it and I'll say it again. If the players are fearful going into this tomorrow, and if the manager is fearful going into this tomorrow, then what's the fucking point? What is the point? There's absolutely no point whatsoever. Because if an Everton team turns up with fear tomorrow at Anfield, we know what's going to happen. We've seen it over the years. We've seen it under Roberto Martinez. We've seen it numerous times over the years when an Everton team has turned up with fear. We've seen it under Carlo in the FA Cup game. Not the one that we won, obviously, the game before that when he managed in the FA Cup game, and all the expectation was on Everton to win, and we shit ourselves and we lost to a team with a lot of players in there that our players were much better than on paper. But we shit ourselves. We feared. We were scared. And I'm not saying there's a high percentage chance that we will win tomorrow. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm not. I think the chances of Everton winning tomorrow are probably under 20%. The chances of Everton getting something, I think, are quite decent. Because, as I said, I don't think this is the same Liverpool team as it was 4 or 5 years ago. But if the players are going into this one fearful and scared and worried and anxious, then the chances of Everton getting anything out of this game is nothing. Is bang zero. So we may as well phone up the Premier League tonight and say, lads, our players are fucking shitting themselves, so we're not even going to bother turning up tomorrow. Give them a 3-0 win, give them the points, and we'll just go again next week. Because there's no point. There's no point. I get we can be fearful as a fan base, and I appreciate that, Johnny and the Blues. I get that. I'm not sitting here now saying I've got nothing to fear. I'm fucking shitting myself. I hate Merseyside derbies. I've got to go up and look my father-in-law in the face after this one if they beat us, and my girlfriend and all of their family. I hate them. I hate them. But I'm not on the pitch. Or I'm not in the dugout making the decisions. And I'm not getting paid 130 grand a week either. And I know people will say, what's the money got to do with it? But as I've just said, when you take everything into consideration, there's not much to fear for these players going into this one. If they lose this game, they lose this game. Okay, we've lost an away game to a team that will challenge for the title this season. It is what it is. Yes, it's a Merseyside derby, and it's worse because there's more emotion and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I get that. I really, really do get that. However, as I've just said, I don't think there will be many of us that will sit here screaming and shouting and kicking off tomorrow if Everton have given everything, 110%, battled, worked hard, fought, give everything, and lost. I think we'll sit here and say, do you know what? We lost because they're a better team, but fair play. We battled, we give everything, we worked hard, we were sound there. Whereas if we turn up and we're shitting ourselves and we cower and we just, again, we almost turn up expecting to lose, then it becomes a much bigger thing. And I don't think Sean Dyche can afford that. I really, really don't think he can't. There's still a lot of fans, myself included, that don't believe Sean Dyche will be the manager come the end of the season, even after what was a fantastic win against Bournemouth. And I'm not trying to turn this into a negative or trying to make this an anti-Sean Dyche thing, but Sean Dyche can come out of this game tomorrow in a positive light amongst Evertonians. Even if we lose, Sean Dyche can come out of this game with a positive light amongst Evertonians. But he can't do it if his team turn up with the expectation to lose and turn up fearful and scared and worried and anxious, etc., etc. Then the pressure will be almost more on the manager. And then you've got a run of 4 or 5 really difficult games that he's got to manage. So it works in the manager's favour for these players to turn up tomorrow without any fear and be brave and have a go and fight. And if we lose 2-0 because Salah scores a worldie or Luis Diaz scores a fantastic goal, then we'll sit here and go, do you know what? We haven't got Mohamed Salah scoring 30 goals a year. We haven't got Luis Diaz, who's a fantastic player. But if we lose 3-0 and we've absolutely shit ourselves and we've not been involved and we've not battled and we've not worked hard and we've not been brave and we've not attacked down that left-hand side to expose a left-back that's, only just coming into the team to replace Andy Robinson, then that's when there'll be a real amount of disappointment, and that's when I think the frustration will settle in. 2 seconds, I apologise. Here we go. Sorry about that. Wi-Fi decided to absolutely have a nightmare there. Yeah, like I said, I'm not saying I expect Everton to turn up and be able to, win at Anfield and comfortably beat this Liverpool team. I'm not saying that whatsoever. What I'm saying is I expect Everton to turn up and be brave and have a go and battle and put a fight in, and what will be will be. And as far as I'm concerned, if they do that and we do that and we're able to do that, I won't be sitting here tomorrow stressing or screaming and shouting. I'll be sitting here going, do you know what? It is what it is. It is what it is. If you are enjoying it, by the way, please hit that like button. It does only take a second if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to subscribe. That would mean a huge, huge amount to me. We're going to do the predicted starting 11 now, which of course is brought to you by Fanhub. Don't forget to go and check out the Fanhub app in the description down below. The top link in the description. You can click that link. You will download the app straight away if you use the code THE, so V, all in lowercase or uppercase. I think it works both. bear with me. I'll just get it up on the screen because it's easy to get up on the screen. There it is, THE-UBP. You will skip the list. So generally, if you want to download it and get on, there's a little bit of a waiting list because a lot of people are wanting to get on. If you use that golden ticket code, you'll be able to get on straight away and you won't need to wait in any sort of line. It's a brilliant app, gives you all of the latest news, updates on your football club, allows you to predict the lineup, allows you to predict numerous fixtures. As you can see here, there's leaderboards for mileage. So mileage means obviously how far you've travelled. You input your games in there, home games, away games. It tells you how many stadiums you've visited, including the most visited. It tells you how many miles you've travelled, and that is based on your home location. So even if you live in, I don't know, Manchester, and you go to every game at Goodison, you will still clock up those miles. Have a little go, get on it, see if you enjoy it, and follow us on there as well. I want to build a community on there, completely free, by the way, doesn't charge whatsoever. And also, get on there, do your predicted starting 11s to this game, and then show me them because I want to see what you have predicted. And we're going to build our community over there as the weeks go on. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Predicted lineup. As you can see there is a general formation that Fanhub uses for predicted lineups. I don't think Everton's formation tomorrow will be much different to this. Sorry, I do. Usually it's a 4-3-3. I don't think it will be a 4-3-3. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move one player here. I'm going to move one player there. I'm going to have a midfield almost like that. And I think that is the way that Sean Dyche will set up tomorrow. It's a little bit wonky, but you get the gist. There is a chance that he goes 5 at the back, of course, because we're playing one of the best teams in the country away from home, and he's been known to do that before. However, I don't think that would be the best option tomorrow. So let's jump into it. In goal, Jordan Pickford, of course, absolutely no doubt about that. Jordan has had his good and bad times at Anfield, to be fair, and you know, I suppose you could say he's had more good than bad recently. Touch wood, that continues tomorrow. But look, he's our number one, and that will remain that way. Left back, I'm going to go with Vitaly Mykolenko. I think he's been very impressive since returning to the squad. I think he's had a couple of really, really good games. We haven't really got any other option at left back. Obviously, he will have a difficult afternoon against Mohamed Salah, and you know, ultimately it's down to the forward players and the midfielders to be able to get back and help him to ensure that he is able to keep Mohamed Salah quiet for the majority of the game. 2 centre backs, I'm going to go with James Tarkowski in there alongside Jared Branthwaite, of course. They have been our centre-back partnership for the majority of this season. Jared Branthwaite was really, really solid against Bournemouth, although obviously Bournemouth didn't provide us with much of a problem. He was still incredibly solid, and yeah, I don't see any reason as to why to change this. As I said, the only way I can see this changing is if the manager decides to go with a 5 at the back formation and maybe put Michael Keane in there as well, but I don't think that will go down particularly well. Right back then, I am going to go with Ashley Young. This is a predicted starting 11, remember, not a preferred starting 11. If it was my starting 11, it would be Nathan Patterson, and it would be Nathan Patterson all day, because I think Nathan Patterson is a better option than Ashley Young. I think he's younger, I think he's quicker, I think he's got more stamina. Yes, Ashley Young obviously has got that experience, he's got that, you know, sort of wherewithal, if you like, but I really do think Ashley Young has been terrible this season. I really do. I think he's been terrible. And I think when Nathan Patterson has played, he's generally been okay. But as I said, this is a predicted starting 11. And I just cannot see Sean Dyche putting Nathan Patterson in there for the Merseyside derby at Anfield and leaving Ashley Young out. So there you go. Into the midfield then. The manager obviously has a little bit of a headache, a selection headache, because Adesina Gay obviously has returned to fitness. He obviously got injured in the warm-up to the Bournemouth game, so had to be taken out of that game. He's now returned to fitness. However, for me, I would be going with the same midfield 3 as the one that started against Bournemouth. I think you may see Abdoulaye Doucouré a little bit further back than what he was against Bournemouth. He was obviously almost the second striker. The Blues says Young has been sound. Cam, I don't think he has been sound. I think he's been terrible, but that's just my opinion. Yeah, he was almost the second striker, wasn't he, against Bournemouth, whereas I don't think you'll see that on tomorrow afternoon. I think you'll see him maybe more in a defensive role. I do think he'll be the highest up of the midfield, but I don't think he will be in that second striker role. And Amadou Onana and James Garner, I thought they were both really, really good against Bournemouth. I think it was probably their best performance as a duo, as a midfield duo. And it's difficult, this one, because I said against Bournemouth, I don't think there is necessarily a need for a player like Idrissa Gana Gueye in a game like that, because we're at home, we're against the team that we're expected to beat, we're against the team that we're expected to have the majority of the ball against. However, there probably is a place in this team for Idrissa Gana Gueye in away games against Liverpool, against Manchester City, tough away games where we probably aren't the team that are, getting forward or attacking or battling. However, I'm going to go back on myself here a little bit. I think the minute you put Idrissa Gana Gueye back in this Everton team, the minute you are then having to move other components around and move other players around in order to try and suit the way in which you want to fit players in. So, James Garner has to play tomorrow. He has to play. It's as simple as that. He's been arguably our best performer in recent weeks, and this is arguably our biggest game of the season, or one of. So he has to play. If you have Gana Gueye back in there, then that means James Garner has to play in a different position, more than likely the right-hand side, which we all know isn't ideal, because when he's played there, okay, on occasion he's been able to do a job, but he's not necessarily been particularly good there. So what I would love tomorrow is for the manager to just say, no, James Garner has been brilliant. And whilst Gana Gueye might be a starting player for us, James Garner has been absolutely fantastic. So therefore, James Garner is starting this game. Onana, I also think, was very good against Bournemouth. And in a two with James Garner, have got a good little partnership going on there. And I don't see what the reason for changing that would be. And then up front on the left-hand side, I am going to go with Dwight McNeil. On the right-hand side, I'm going to go with... Where is he? Jack Harrison. And up front, I'm going to go with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. There you go. Obviously, there's a case for Dan Juma, there's a case for Beto, there's a case for two up front. Maybe the manager will surprise us all and go with two up front, and completely throw everybody off with Beto and Calvert-Lewin up there. I don't think Beto and Calvert-Lewin necessarily are ready to play together yet, certainly not in a Merseyside derby. So I think we're more than likely going to see the one up front, and I think that will be the front three. I think that's been the front three for a couple of weeks. It's done really well. Jack Harrison obviously scored his first goal in the last game, an absolutely fantastic goal, and I don't see why that would be changed. So there you go. That is my Fanhub predicted starting 11 for the game tomorrow. As I said, don't forget to go and check out Fanhub, top line of the description. Get your starting 11s in. Follow us on there so you can join our community and we can all compare our leaderboard stats in terms of going to games and predicted starting 11s, all of that sort of stuff. It's completely free if you use the code THE dash. Oh my god, I've completely forgot it again. Why do I keep forgetting this code? THE-UBP with that link, then you will get on straight away, completely free, and we'll be able to build our little community over there. Going to be doing loads with Fanhub in the next few weeks and months and so. Loads of stuff on the app as well. You can do loads on there. It's not just predicted starting 11s. There's news, there's other predictions. As I said, there's the stadium stuff. You can check in at stadium. So if you go into Anfield tomorrow to watch the game, check in at Anfield. You'll build up points, and the more points you get, you'll be able to exchange for rewards. You can also share your starting 11 as well. If you press this button in the top right hand corner, you can save it and you can share it to any social media pages as well, but I won't bore you with that. I will do that after the stream has ended. So there you go. That is our predicted starting 11 for the game tomorrow. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. Don't forget to get yours in on Fanhub, as I've just said. And yeah, as I said, look, I understand the anxiety going into this game. I understand the worry. I understand the ultimate fear of Merseyside derbies and how poor we've been in Merseyside derbies over the years. I get it all. But ultimately, I think that's okay for us as fans to have those worries because we're fans and we're the ones that get it in the neck from our mates and our family, you know, the day after or a couple of days later. But I think for the players and the manager, they have to believe in themselves. They have to be brave and they have to be able to turn up and put a fight and a performance in. And if they can do that, then let's wait and see what happens. But there you go. That is the game preview. Let us know your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. We will, of course, be back with the instant match reaction and the player ratings tomorrow after the game, so don't forget to look out for those. But yeah, until then, don't forget to check out Fanhub, as I said. Leave a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new. And yeah, let's just see what happens, eh? Let's just see what happens. Up the fucking toffees. See you after.